Today, I'm very excited to welcome Toroa Aperahama. Toroa is Maori elder of the Te Whanau-a-Apanui and wisdom keeper. He is traditional Maori carver, kaiwhakaiiro, traditional Maori storyteller, manu korero, what means talking bird, and of course he is HAKA teacher, Kai HAKA. Toroa, hello, I welcome you.
Tēnā koe, tēnā koutou katoa. Maori greetings to you all.
Thank you. Toroa, you are not only from the other end of the world, from New Zealand, you are also from a complete different culture, and I would almost say even from a different time. So you grew up in traditional tribal structures with your grandmother, what is for us, the Western European, really unimaginable. And I guess we cannot capture all the meanings that has. So, Toroa, what do you think are the main differences between us, the Western Europeans, and your Maori culture?
Well, I think really if we went back far enough in time, we would have been pretty much exactly the same. The biggest difference, of course, is that we've retained our culture. And even in today, we still hold our tribal identity. And tribes are made up of families, and which becomes community, which becomes sub-tribe, which becomes tribe. So we still retain that today. And I think the biggest difference today is individualism. One country I lived in, our neighbour didn't know where his neighbour came from on the other side, and yet they've been living side by side for 30 years. So, it's a matter of getting back to community, I think, which is my aim, of course, to bring back community and togetherness and connection.
That's great. And that is, I think, actually one of the main and most impressive experiences during your workshops, that the group easily is formed like one being. So it's from the first day on a really sense and atmosphere of being connected and acting like a group. And that is a special quality you can dive in your workshops. So this reconnection with yourself and become part of a group in a respectful and protective frame.
Yes, that's as you know, with my workshops, because I was raised in our old traditional ways, I actually carry our old with me from my grandmother and my 6 elders who raised me from birth. And I have been saying here in Europe, I know who I am. And we have a saying, if we know who we are, we'll always find our way home. And today's society, of course, to me personally, seems lost. And so, it's our role and our responsibility, whichever Indigenous race, to share our knowledge with you, not teach, because that creates levels, but sharing is the same level.
Yes, that was one thing what marked me, that you can name back all your ancestors until the year of 450, was it like this? And I even have problems to get the name of my grandmothers. So my roots somewhere are broken, or for me, I have problems to find them back. And this identical work, or to get in contact with my roots and my identity. That was one very important aspect, what impressed me when I first came to one of your workshops. Toroa, would you like us to tell something more how you were trained and learned the Haka in your youth, and maybe what are the differences, how Haka is used today?
Yeah, certainly. Firstly, yes, I can name my ancestors back to the year 400, 450 after Christ. But that's the part of the training for the first surviving grandchild, which I was. But I also am able to trace my ancestors 8 generations back into our ancient homeland of Hawaii. Haka. Again, as you know, I make it a tribal experience where everybody is sharing their pain or their joy together as a tribe. There's no individual. And of course, I perform what we call rāranga, which is the weaving of the energies of everyone's energies into one energy. Then I'm able to hold them for the whole weekend and everything can flow smooth. I learned Haka from a very early age, of course, because it was just part of my upbringing and it's part of our traditions. You may see videos today of little children joining the adults and performing the Haka with them. That's how we learned from the start as little children to get used to it. And then as we became older from 12 years onwards, or even earlier sometimes, then we started training in Haka.
And for which occasions Haka was used in your tribe?
When I grew up, Haka was used for a purpose. Unlike today with the internet, social media, YouTube and all that, we didn't just perform Haka for the sake of performing Haka. It's something that's very sacred to us, and that's, excuse me, that's the reason I've finally agreed to present my workshops over here, to teach properly and to demand perfection, and I get it.
Yeah, and easily. That is also so impressive in your workshop because the program is quite charged. Normally we learn the Haka or your creation you did with your grandmothers, first in Maori, and then we translate it in our own language. And also we get some rituals before and after, and so it's really for 2 days it's a charged program, but everything is going so smoothly, and we will have it on the second day and can perform it actually as a group. That is so impressive. And we also have these breaks to talk and to let your teaching sink into us and being processed. So the atmosphere is fantastic in your workshops. And yeah, you already named it a little bit. What is your main purpose bringing a Haka or propose Haka to us, the Western Europeans, who maybe somehow have lost a little bit the connection with their own roots or a known identity?
Well, if I can go back to the start of my journey here in Europe, I was asked by a man, would I teach him Haka? And my answer to him was, that's mine, please don't take it. But I kept getting asked and asked, and I was getting annoyed with Haka being performed for any reason, especially on social media. So I said to my friend, I don't believe your ancestors didn't have ritual or ceremony or even dance before they went into battle. And so I don't teach haka out of New Zealand or Aotearoa because they're sacred to me. What I do is compose my own haka, and that releases my restrictions culturally. And that enables me to teach haka and to teach it properly. And by demanding perfection, that shows respect to something that's sacred to my people. But with my concept, whichever country I'm in, I have it translated into their language, their native language, and then I teach it in their language. And of course, from there, I demand higher than perfection. And I get it. Because then they're showing respect to their ancestors, their land, and themselves. But as I say to them, don't call it haka because it isn't, but to find a word that has the same power as it. And we've had some, many countries have been very, very, well, every country I've held workshops in here in Europe have been very impressive. Yeah. I must add quickly, I've been asked for 2 years if I'd present a workshop in France, and I kept saying no. The reason being that I always saw the French language as a romantic flowing language, and I didn't think it would suit haka. But of course, you convinced me to give a workshop in France. And I must say, that was one of my I was so impressed with that workshop because the French who attended the workshop proved to me the power of their language. And I was just so proud that I actually agreed to do it. The power from the French was unbelievable. I still buzz about it today. So, yeah, I thought I'd mention that.
Thank you. And it was and is a great honor to me that I can organize your workshops here over in France. And so now your journey was quite long. So you are giving workshops in Belgium, in Friesland, in Germany, in Austria, and since last year also in France. Have you some personal highlights from your haka workshops over here?
Oh my God, yes. Again, quickly, one of the highlights was a young lady who'd been in a wheelchair since childhood. And so I brought her up to the front with me for the workshop until she got used to the energies. And then when she was ready, I placed her in the middle of the front row. And we performed it outside as a birthday gift for a man who just turned 96 here in Belgium.
Wow.
And the powerful performance she gave from her wheelchair just blew me away. And the grandmothers, the Maori grandmothers I work with, we all just fell in love with her. My first workshop in Paris, it was the first time a black woman had performed the haka, led the haka, and with power. And she was from Ethiopia. But the last special occasion was in Germany, where on the final day I had the group in a spear, the spear tip formation, with the men and the women performing for each other. And on the completion of that, one of the men came out into the center and called his girlfriend out and proposed to her, a marriage proposal. And of course, thankfully, she accepted. Those are the three major highlights I've experienced. Yeah, beautiful. So it makes me happy that I'm actually presenting something that people will remember for the rest of their lives. Yeah.
And it's also the, how to say, the hacker space you opened for us. It's such a great space to get reconnection with ourselves, with different cultures. I think, for example, also to in Andreas with the taiko, coming from the Japanese culture, but also it is not cultural colonialism. It is just we lost so much, and thank you for the help and the support you propose us to find this reconnection in ourselves, with the people around us, with our people and our land, and really to reconnect. We are one big human family. And we are in these so difficult times, and I really guess we can master this only in that spirit, together forward as one human family. And that this reconnection with Mother Earth, with Father Sky, with myself, and the people around me is something what really impresses me so much. And I see we need this to really to accept we are connected. Everybody is connected with everybody, and we cannot live without Mother Earth and Father Sky, so that we really have to fill out to be the point of connection with everything and everybody. So to step or dive into an experience like this, I love your Haka workshops.
That's as I said before. I always say, the more you awoke, who I am, I know who I am, and I believe I'm the first to stand on European land, take away the man-made borders, just one land, many tribes. But to stand on your land, whichever country I'm in, and acknowledge the people there as tangata whenua, as people of that land, as indigenous to that land. That's my way of showing respect to the land and the ancestors of that land and the people of that country. If we went back, as I said, if we went back far enough in time, we'd be pretty much one people, many different cultures. As I said about the land, take away the man-made borders, one land, many tribes. It's the same with the cultures, one people, many different tribes. And to bring them back together again in connection, in peace, and aroha, and love, and connection. It's that's what I'm all about. When I grew up, my language was not to be spoken in schools or in public. And so I received all my training and all my traditional ancient knowledge, what we call underground. And so we know a lot about colonization or suppression or whatever you want to call it. But my people, we actually fought back. And that's what we have the reputation as being. We will fight back. We won't just roll over. One thing I say about the French is they know who they are. And I love that, because there's many other countries here that I've visited that have lost everything. And then, of course, it becomes my duty to try and reconnect them with their own ancient culture. It's as simple as that. Because once we become one again, well, then we can move forward, as you said, united and in peace together. And Yeah, even though I come from a warrior race, a warrior also carries love and aroha and manaki. And so, you know, I'm not on the battlefield, but I can still be a warrior and continue forward spreading love.
Yes. And like you explained, May, the battlefields of today has changed, and they are merely inside of us. And I would say to keep peace or to make peace inside of yourself, with your neighbors, with people around you, is one of the main battles we have to do. We have to do it to keep peace, to create peace, to work for harmony and this reconnection between all of us, and even to protect Mother Earth, because we cannot, she can live without us, but we cannot live without Mother Earth. And so in that terms, we are modern warriors, but a warrior needs to be anchored in him or herself, and knowing who he or she is and what he or she is doing, actually.
Yeah, well, yeah, to love others, you must love yourself first.
Yeah.
You know, to respect others, you must respect yourself first. Yeah, everything starts with self. And then from there, you can spread the spider's web. You know, that's, to me, it's so simple. And yet it seems to be the hardest thing we seem to be able to do.
Very often when you say simple, for me as a Western European, I say, oh, that's simple, I have to learn. It is not as simple for me. But of course, when I listen to you, it appears natural and simple, but that are the moments I realize what I have lost, what I have to conquer back, from my conditioning in which I was raised. And yeah,
it's not necessarily lost, just buried. You know, I grew up in a very, I didn't know the difference between rich and poor, but I grew up very, very poor. But I had, my childhood was absolutely beautiful. The love I received from my grandmother and my elders, you know, growing up with nature, because I was still connected with nature, because we are nature. Nature is us, but we've lost our connection. You know, I've mentioned before, my childhood was swimming with the dolphins or sitting in a thermal pool down the beach with penguins. You know, we didn't play with the seals because they'd bite us. Or having the whales, they were too big to come into the bay, but for them to come up to the boat. And Maki the killer whale, you know, coming into the rocks beneath my place or where I was raised to rub the barnacles off her. You know, that was my childhood. And to me, it was simple. That's how I grew up, until I hear of people today wishing they had that. And but it's not forgotten. It's just buried, really. And you know, in the right situation, the right circumstances, that will come back to you. Yeah.
So you make me dream about this ancient world, especially being so close, living with nature, but also how I imagine the tribe live together. And yeah, maybe to work to recreate human reality, what is more based on connection and love. I have the honor and the complete joy to organize your events, to just to support this reconnection for all of us individually and especially together to move forward, to improve this world, to protect Mother Earth and to find the spirit of being together here as one big human family, and also to enjoy our cultural differences, not to judge them, but enjoy them as a source of richness. And yeah, so with such a huge joy, I'm organizing your workshops. And for me, it is my deepest heart request that everybody is fine who is coming to participate in your workshop, to find the best conditions to be able to step into his or her optimum and to take the best of your teachings and Haka and feel that reconnection and the strength when you open yourself, to a group, and to your ancestors, to your roots. And yeah, this is just fantastic. And many participants of your workshops were really enthusiastic, and especially here the French people were really like blown away from your workshop. So yeah, and
Yeah.
I also to get to know you, Toroa, because you are such an inspiring personality and you have so many stories to tell. And yes, we could talk hours. Also, the connections between different cultures, so that the Maori landed here on Europe.
That was before. That was between 1,000 and 1,500 years ago. Before we were known as Maori and before we settled permanently in Aotearoa. We have many ancient connections with this land. The haka we do is what we call haka taparahi, which is a self-motivational haka for inner strength, and it's done with love and power, of course.
I love haka because it allows me to feel myself completely alive and filled with energy.
Thank you. And for what you've just said, yes, to perform the haka to perfection, you must become the haka.
So the next occasions I put in the comments when you can experience the haka and performance perfection under the guidance and the teaching of Toroa Aperahama.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I hope to see you all soon.
We are really looking forward to welcome you or to see you again in Toroa's next workshops.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone who's been watching.
Thank you very much, Toroa, for your time and your kindness to do this interview with me, because I really appreciate and I love your work. The messages you are spreading out for my insight, they are so important. Thank you very much.